What's good, y'all? I hope y'all having a good Wednesday today. And we're gonna be talking about 9-year-old movie today, Batman versus Superman. Um, yeah, like I said, this movie's old, but being that it's still talked about, like it came out yesterday, we're gonna be going over a few things, mainly the misconceptions this movie has as a whole, and the writing. There's gonna be a reason why, but two of them are connected. So we're going to be jumping right into it. I would like to go over the misconceptions for one, and I think the morality is for Superman and Batman is a good place to start because when it comes to them, there's quite a few people, whether it be in the fan community or in the general audience, that believe that both of them aren't really as heroic as the trailer or the previous movie made them to be, like Superman and Batman, you know what I mean? And when it comes down to that, I mean, they have their own right to feel that way, but to play devil's advocate for both sides, when it comes to the morality of these heroes, we're talking about heroes that are supposed to exist in the real world. So it's supposed to feel like everything they do has real consequences on them. You know what I mean? Like the fight with Superman and Zod left a lot of people injured and possibly killed. It at least left that insinuation. You can't really argue that because then what is BVS? What is the point of BVS? You know what I'm saying? It's clear that people died as an aftermath through from the battle. I can't even speak today. It's clear that people died due to the aftermath from the Battle of Metropolis. All right. So when you look at it like that, it's kind of like they have a point to feel that way, but at the same time, it's really like that doesn't mean that they're not doing what they need to do, like Superman, you know what I'm saying, and Batman. But just moving on from that, like that's not even really like the main thing, like when it comes to misconception of Superman I want to talk about. I guess the main one I want to talk about is that courtroom scene. You know what I'm talking about, when Superman walks in the courtroom, and he's trying to talk to the Senate and and everybody, you know what I mean? And then you got one of the victims of what is it? I think the statue fell on her or some shit. I don't know. Well, Wallace Keith, he was paralyzed as a result from what happened with an event with Superman, and he is backed by Lex Luthor, who is essentially paying him to say, "Hey, uh, you are going to blame this on Superman." You know what I mean? And like, it's more or less like more than paid. It's like he kind of helps him. He gaslights him, makes him feel like, yeah, no, this is Superman's fault, man. You know what I mean? It's very Lex Luthor. And we'll get into Lex Luthor a little later, but yeah, I wanted to point that out. But some people, the naysayers of this movie, in particular, like in the community, are quick to point out or quick to question, why didn't he save the people in the courtroom? Why didn't he react the way you know what I'm saying? And then I it kind of does beg the question, did you watch the movie? Did you see what happened? You know what I mean? I'm not even trying to say it like that, but it's like, did you see how, when he walked in and, you saw it for the first time, you didn't think there was a bomb? There is no insinuation, there's no nothing that insinuates that there's a bomb about to trigger in that very courtroom. You know what I mean? And, he's not thinking like that. He's thinking like, what's going to happen today? You know what I mean? Like, why do these people think of this way? Think of me this way? You know what I mean? Like, his mind isn't nowhere near on that. You know what I mean? So it does beg the question of, when it comes to that notion, or again that misconception, what makes you think that? Because like the bomb exploded and then like he stopped for a minute in the middle of an explosion because try to express some feeling by himself, because throughout the past two movies now he's been ridiculed and criticized for doing what he was doing and even hunted down by some of these people. I mean, it's in a way it's not fair. It's kind of not fair. You can't really blame him for you know acting the way he acts and doing some of the things he does. And I just that's kind of why I'm quick to defend Superman and even Batman when it comes to this movie, because it's like they're still doing what they need to do. And what other misconception is there? Lex Luthor real quick. A lot of people like to say because he didn't look or feel like Lex Luthor, he wasn't Lex Luthor. And it's like, well, by all rights and measurements, and the way he acted and the way he orchestrated the fight between Batman and Superman, that's Lex Luthor. Um, you know, there you can't get around that. There's no coming around that. I'm sorry to tell you. You know, going over the writing for him is another thing, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But Lex Luthor was actually methodical. He did use his head when it comes to, how to orchestrate some things, not even just with Superman and Batman, but with like the US government and how he was trying he wasn't even trying, he was playing chess. And then like he won. He ultimately won until he lost. You understand? That's what the end of the movie was about. That's why Batman went to see him, because it was like, you come back and try to do this shit again, I will hunt you down. That was what that whole scene was about. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, the bell is rung. That's what he said. Lex Luthor. It was insinuated that Lex Luthor discovered something else, and then because of what he did with Doomsday, he opened the door to Steppenwolf, which leads into Justice League. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what he mean when it was like ding dong, or like, he was like ding dong, the witch is dead. Like he was essentially like, they're coming. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers is coming. I feel like that's how I feel. I don't know if that's actually what it was, but he definitely was insinuating that, like, I still won because Superman died. And again, that's Lex Luthor. That's very much Lex Luthor. I don't think there's no other way of going about that. I feel like ignoring that just is just being disingenuous. But other than that, clearing these misconceptions, I think in terms of major ones that are still talked about to this day, that's pretty much it. I mean, Batman, quickly going over Batman again, if I didn't already, Batman, he is the way he is because he's been Batman for 20 years. Robin dying, that was his fault. That's how he feels. And he can't stop the Joker. It's not that it's not that he won't. It's kind of like he can't. Joker is almost he's kind of unstoppable at this point. You know what I mean? Like he's very resourceful. He's not as easy to find, and when he is, he's causing straight chaos. That's what they wanted you to. That's what they were trying to tell you. But the problem is the fucking writing, and we might as well segue into this shit now because this is why people did not like this fucking movie. The motherfucking writing. So you mean to tell me, like, still talking about Batman? You mean to tell me the world's greatest detective, the guy who, like, Mr. Get It Done in Gotham City, you mean to tell me he can't find Joker and stop Joker? You know what I mean? Like, thinking about it like that. And it's like, if you're going to write Joker in a way to where it's like he really is this mastermind criminal, kingpin, clown, prince of crime, then he needs to act like that. He did not portray himself as that in the Suicide Squad. That's why nobody was convinced. Also, I mean, nobody even seen him in BVS. You had all these fucking characters in there. You might as well have shown the little clips of him in flashbacks. You know what I mean? Like this movie would have done much better with flashbacks of Batman and Robin and Joker than just trying to dump the little bit of background, the lore on you in just a few 5-minute scenes here and there. It's not that good. That's the problem. When it came to the death of Jason Todd, that was a whole storyline. Like, you're and if for those who don't know, Robin does die. There is a Robin who dies. In DC Comics is Jason Todd. In BVS, it was Dick Grayson, which is the very first Robin, which is also Nightwing. That's a big problem. So, not only is Nightwing dead in DCEU, okay? You got this news by way of like exposition dumping, which is motherfuckers just telling other motherfuckers this shit, or like, talking about this shit with other motherfuckers instead of being shown. You know what I mean? That's not good, and it's actually very frustrating and disappointing to think about it that way because it's, you know what I mean. And for, the advocates of this movie and Zack Snyder and, the Snyderverse, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not that I didn't understand the movie. No, I very much did. I very much liked this movie, but What frustrates me is that you don't see a lick of fucking Robin whatsoever. Nightwing, you don't ever get Nightwing in this universe, which is fucking stupid. You understand what I'm saying? Yet this is supposed to be a shared universe with all these characters in it. So just the Justice League is here, but nobody else. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, as a Zack Snyder fan, that didn't make sense to me. I'm not sure if that was a him decision or whatever, but that never made sense to me. Again, the way this movie is structured in terms of the writing, the way how this movie has everybody doing these certain things at certain times, it's not good. You understand? Why would you build tension between Batman and Superman and not escalate that to something else that actually makes sense? Like it didn't get to the point to where it's like Batman was like, okay, Superman really needs to be stopped. You know what I'm saying? And then like, it was actually just Superman trying to, help people or stop Lex Luthor from doing something or whatever the case may be. No, that fight happens by way of a motherfucking, this Riddler copycat kidnapping this nigga's mom, and then is like, bring me the head of the bat, forcing it to happen. Like it, no, that's that's not good storytelling. It's not. Because why? Why? Why do we go from all the way over here to all the way over there? That's what I'm not. You know what I mean? It's not even what I'm not contemplating. It's like, why would you do that? Why didn't you just tell a straight shot story? That's that's my biggest thing, and I will never understand that when it comes to Chris Terrio and David Goyer. Um, and unironically, this or ironically, because the standout in this film is Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. Everybody's turned on her at this point. It is what it is. But my favorite line, what everybody's saying right now, she a bad actor. But nobody said that when she came on the screen in BVS. Nobody said that. That's what's amusing me right now. Like genuinely, like I just stop in my day and I laugh for at least 3 seconds because it's crazy how we go from that to here, and it's like, oh fucker, like all right, okay. um, but overall, again, the writing of this movie could have just been so much better if it had one person or at least two people actually locked in sync, dedicating like their time with not even just the characters but with the lore and the story and the world surrounding it. You would have had a better script. You would have had a much better script. You know what I mean? Like, see, if you're writing something with somebody, and and both of y'all are not on the same page, both of y'all are just inserting things here. You know what I mean? And you're not, you know, if they're not making sense, they're not going to work. You see what I'm saying? Like, I and Chris Terrio and David Goyer, they missed that mark. If you really ask me, and it's not. I really have no other words. The writing is just that bad. And I'm not saying like what they're saying. No, what Batman and Superman and what everybody else say is fine. But in terms of the writing in the script, the writing that directs everybody to one place or another for one reason or another is what I'm talking about. That is not good. Me, you, everybody else outside could have thought of 7 different fucking scripts for this movie that could have been and should have been considered before this one. I'm sorry. There's no other way of saying it. And to think originally, this was Man of Steel 2. Come on, guys. No. And when I mean guys, I mean Snyder fans, cultists, whatever the fuck you are, whatever level you are on that. Come on, guys. Really? Really? You're really gonna sit here and try to justify that? Come on, man. Like I love Zack Snyder too, and I want to see his story continue as well. But it's over, and there's no need to defend a movie, that objectively has a bad thing, about it. You understand? Like I used to be just like that too. You want to know why? Because I didn't really understand how filmmaking worked. Now that I do, I see what people were talking about. Now, not for nothing, but even though everybody went to go see BVS, that's true. There's a lot of people, everybody at this point went and seen BVS. This movie had an 800 and what, 37, $73 million box office return globally. Yeah, everybody went and seen it. Okay. But just because everybody went and seen it does not mean that this was a good movie. So if you're going to sit here and try to use the box office numbers as a way to say it's a good movie, you are 130% wrong. I don't even know why that number just came up. You're wrong. You can't use box office numbers to justify if a movie is good or not. You understand? This is and BVS is an example of that because if you ask the general audience in America at least how BVS was, not many people are going to say it was good. You understand like the you know like I've always had these type of conversations with people and like even recent years I was like, yo, did you watch the new Snyder cut? Like there's some people who have and it's like they and even those who have, they never finished it or like they weren't as enthusiastic about it as I was. And that's the harsh reality of it. Some of you are not can't relate to me on that level because some of you are not in America. Some of you are in areas where you're with other people who are watching the same things you watch for one reason or another. And I'm not saying that's a bad, that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you guys will come back and say, well, that's not true because in my area, everybody loves this shit. And it's like, yo, that may be true 100%. But that does not mean everybody loves this shit. But just like on my side, just because in my area not many people like BVS and Man of Steel and Henry Cavill's Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman, it doesn't mean that everybody hate. No, that's not what it was. But what I will say is that it's the majority. It is truly the majority, and that's why these characters were not box office draws. And if they were, the Flash would have made money, a lot of money. Shazam would have made money, a lot of money. Black Adam would have made money, a lot of money. But let's face it, those three characters, those three versions of these characters, nobody cared anymore. It was just they're done. Do you know what I mean? The movie going audience, they most of them that were watching these movies, they're not watching them anymore. That's the harsh reality. That's what it is. And you can blame it on promotion or marketing or whatever, but it's just what it was. You know what I mean? And like, yo, everybody knew Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman, but that's not the case. Now that's not the case. Um, Overall, however you think about this movie is irrelevant to the situation now. The reality now is that we moved on. DC, Warner Brothers has moved on. As much as I want that story to be told, I moved on as well. Because not only do I want to see more stories, news stories from DC, I'm focusing on my own thing. I will not be announcing what that is publicly, um, but just know at future point in time, it will, yeah, no doubt. But more or less, I'm just not going to be, campaigning for those movies anymore because it's just what it is. It's over. It is done. Everybody's moved on. And there's nothing wrong with that, But if you still want to, campaign for this shit, that's up to you. Just don't, for that side that is, hashtagging restore the Snyderverse and whatever, don't shoot down the other side of DC because of one reason or another, or stoop down to the other side that shoots down Zack Snyder. I mean, it's really your choice. I'm not your fucking dad. I don't really. I mean, no, I can't really control you. But it's like if you're really a DC fan, bro, you're not gonna let this shit get to you the way you're letting it get to you. And that goes for the other side too. And I mean, like, the DC fans that don't like Zack Snyder or his movies. I mean, if this shit's over, right? You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna get mad because these guys are out coming out here saying their favorite movies are better than the shit that's coming up, come on, bro, grow the fuck up. That's really all I got to say about this shit. BVS, it's over. Uh, I'll probably do some more videos on it, maybe breaking down like dedicating certain videos to certain characters. I might just go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to be again, I'm not going to be consistently talking about this shit, but like again, I will do like character analysis on versions of these characters, especially Batman, because this is a Batman channel by all rights and measurements. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can talk about other things as well, but you get my point. Um, that's gonna be it. Any support is appreciated. You know what I mean? I ain't forcing you to do shit. I just really want you to have a good day. I hope this video, entertained you in some way or another. I didn't hope I didn't bore the fuck out of you. What do you think? You probably hate this fucking movie, and I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna fucking judge you. It is what it is. If you love this movie, great. Talk about it. What did you like about it? Shit, I like Ben Affleck's Batman. I There's really nothing else. That's just me personally, but yeah. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in Gotham.